This is part 2 of the Canon 5D Mark 1, or the classic Mark 1, or Mark 1. What are we going to call it? Everyone seems to call it the classic now. It makes it sound very old, but it's not that old really. 11, 12 years old. So I've had a few questions, so I thought I'd try and answer them for you. Let's read this first one. Just wondering, what do you think of using the 5D Classic for wedding photography in low light, and would you use it in a wedding, and what lens would you use? Nice strap. Everyone seems to like the strap. It's nothing fancy, it's just straight from eBay. I own a 5D Classic as well. So basically, Kylo Ren. The 5D was used by every wedding photographer I know, and we used to think it was the best camera, and then all of a sudden the next one comes out and the last camera's forgotten. So yes, I use it for wedding photography. It's the same as using it 12 years ago. That's all I can say. It's not like the new cameras have got like magic. They're absolutely brilliant. The main reason I still use it is because it's a good file. Let's just have another look at what people are saying about the 5D in the comments. 5D glass, yeah. So we're wanting to know really what's the difference between the 5D1 and the 5D Mark II, the 5D Mark III. Let's just go through that. And the high ISO performance. It's a general trend, right? Let me see if I can answer some of these questions. Right, so the 5D Mark II, as soon as the 5D Mark II came out, I bought it instantly, kept the 5D Mark I, and we started using it. And then I thought to myself, how much have I just spent for this camera, and what have I actually got for my money? Value for money is very important when you're a wedding photographer. It's not like we're millionaires and we're just shelling out money for bodies for the sake of it. So we're looking at how much money we're losing in the equipment. Does it work? Is the autofocus brilliant? So 5D Mark II came out, and unfortunately I think I bought it too early. I tended to jump on the cameras very early, and one little thing I found instantly was using center point autofocus. Something to watch out when you're buying a second-hand one. If you're buying it from a shop, on the 5D Mark II I was getting this sort of jitter. It's hard to explain, but if you focused on something, it would almost pull back from focus and then back in. You'll find this, not naming names, but on Fuji, other cameras are still like it. A lot of the mirrorless systems tend to do it. It's due to the autofocus not being as good as SLRs just yet. That may be changing. Sony are changing things, but so I instantly found when I was trying to hit focus, and I use one-shot autofocus, so I turn, I take the photo. It was almost like there was this hesitation, that's the best word to describe it. So the 5D Mark II, that instantly put me off it, and I had the 5D Mark I, this body next to it, and it got really annoying. So that was the first thing. And then when we tried to colour match the files to the 5D Mark I, we realised that they put this amazing new high resolution sensor in it. But actually the colours seem to be different. And if you look at, there's a great wedding photographer called Jessica Clare, California way. I'm not alone in this, because she was using the Mark I and then bought the Mark II, and she had exactly the same problem. I think she originally invented Sook, S-O-O-C. She may not have, but it's the first time I ever heard the term Sook, S-O-O-C, straight out of camera. Now, I'm particularly interested in that because I want to get the file straight out the camera with the colour right, white balance right, exposure right. And the only thing I really want to do to that image is crop it and convert it to black and white, so my customers can take a look at it and decide whether they want it in an album. That's what we're after. We don't want to be editing 1,000 images one by one and white balancing and getting the colour right before our customer says, well, actually I don't want those anyway. I was going to have the one of me and my gran and this and that and the other. We don't actually know what the customers want. We think we do, but we don't. They choose the images. So anyway, this Souk, S-O-O-C, is worth looking at. Jessica Clare. And she found the 5D Mark II was the same as me. It was almost like they put the colours on... they boosted the colours, so your neutral wasn't as neutral anymore. Hard to describe, but it was like changing films overnight. My wife, who edited all the weddings, instantly saw it, and she's like, I've got to match this camera to that one. There's ways around it. I mean, it moved on from that, and they've actually, you're either a 5D Mark II photographer or you're a 5D Mark I. It's as simple as that. If you're going to have two bodies, just stick with two from the same sort of era. So that was the second thing, was colours. First thing was autofocus, wasn't right for me. I haven't picked one up for many years. I'd like to get hold of one again now, because the later models, it might have been a simple fix, and I had the wrong one at the beginning. This is a very good camera, and video was brought in, and it was almost like overnight video was more important than stills, and that annoyed photographers, I think, really, because they're still trying to make the Canon 5D a video camera. Well, it's great everybody's using it for video, but they make much better video cameras, so I don't understand why you're really using them. If you look in the Canon range of video cameras now, you'd be much better off with a proper video body. But anyway, not ranting about that. So the 5D Mark II, to me, the only thing that left for it was, can we improve the ISO performance for churches? I mean, if that improved for 3200 ISO, and it really went for it. So I tried it out at weddings, found I had one stop advantage. When I mean one stop advantage, it means when I looked at the files that you could do at the 5D Mark II at 3200 ISO, which I need to use in a lot of churches, does that massively improve or even improve over the Mark I 5D? It did, but it wasn't to the extent that made any difference on the print. Even a print that was 12 by 16, I couldn't see it. So to me, that was not a good reason for keeping the camera. So I've got the autofocus problem, the colour problem, and then all of a sudden I've got this, what have I actually paid for? It was as simple as that. What have I paid for? So I got rid of it very quickly, got my money back, and bought another 5D Mark I body. Carried on with the 5D Mark Is, and didn't really see any big difference. Obviously I'm not into video except for doing these little YouTube videos. If I was a videographer, actually we did try one video at a wedding with the 5D Mark II, and I thought, no, I'm definitely not a videographer. Let's get back to stills, doing what I like doing. So we carried on with that, and I think again I look back towards Jessica Clare's website, and she was one of the first people to try out the 5D Mark III, and she instantly said, straight out of camera, Souk, the files straight out of the 5D Mark III when it came out were absolutely spot on, and the colours were brilliant. As soon as that was said, I looked towards the other things. Two card slots came in, brilliant, so that cured that problem. We can back up our images. This looks spot on, the 5D Mark III. So I got one in my hand and I looked at the back of it, and all of a sudden when I press play and zoom in and out my images and do everything I've done for years, they've moved all the buttons. Now Canon, you need to stop moving the buttons. It drives us mad. Every wedding photographer I talk to, any photographer I talk to is using the 5D range. Leica don't do it, really. They don't keep moving everything. The reason you need to keep everything where it is because we're using these cameras day in, day out, and we just want to be able to get an interface that is fixed. There is an ideal layout. You just need to sit down with about 20 photographers and you'll come up with the ideal layout for a camera. And it's not that hard, even if it means just making every button so you can configure it exactly how you want, and don't put a label on it, and give us a load of stickers. We can stick the stickers next to the buttons or on them. you know, it's simple stuff. So anyway, the 5D Mark III came out. I tried it at a wedding, did one wedding, and the colours are absolutely spot on. The 5D Mark III is a brilliant camera. Very sharp files, nice to use, backing up your images. It gave me everything I needed for wedding photography. You'll find that most wedding photographers are using that camera, and they've switched from the 5D Mark I purely because you can back your images up and you've got a nice lightish weight body. The weight did increase from the 5D Mark I. So great, so I've got my camera and I started to use it and soon realised I absolutely hated the autofocus system on it. And you won't find there's much moaning on the internet about the autofocus on the 5D Mark III. Until you look at people that really know what they're on about, and then the 5D Mark IV comes out and all of a sudden the 5D Mark III autofocus system wasn't great, and yet it was meant to be absolutely brilliant at the time. People have a habit of when they buy this equipment, they just have spent so much money on it that they don't want to slag off their own equipment. The odd person will, something like a Nikon user will definitely find what's wrong with the 5D Mark III, and a Canon user might find what's wrong with a lot of a Canon, you know, a 750 from Nikon. It goes one way or the other, but once you've got the equipment, you don't really want to say, I've spent 3,000 quid on it and it's not much good. But I do, because I instantly sell it, get rid of it. If it's not right, you need to get rid of it because it will drive you mad when you're trying to work. So I got the 5D Mark III, everything was fine, and I tried everything I could with the autofocus system, and I just didn't like it. It did not hit the images like I wanted it to, it didn't react, it was like it was not... I think responsive is the word, and locking on, and you know, I'm moving very quickly. I might focus on a ring 1 second, then move over and on a face the next, and you know, you're constantly moving at weddings, and it just did not quite work. Again, I had a very early copy. I got it very early. Whether that fixed, which a lot of things do get fixed, I have to say, with cameras, they don't tell you, and they might not do a firmware release, but these little things do get fixed. So again, do your own research, talk to other people. I've owned these cameras for a very short amount of time, but the one I kept forever is the 5D Mark I. So again, I sold the 5D Mark III. It had video on, had a HDR function. HDR was good. There's lots and lots of things about that camera that are good. On the used market again, would I buy another one? No. Would I buy a 5D Mark II again? No. Would I buy 10 5D Mark Is? Yes, I would. So I have tried the others. Now the 5D Mark IV really does interest me. I only know one person that's got one at the moment. And if you work out the money on two 5D, well, say they're £3,500, so you got to pay a spade and £7,000 before the start of your wedding season. We'll do a separate video about that. Why are we buying these expensive cameras? Why are they getting more expensive? And as a working photographer, why are we buying them? It makes no financial sense to keep buying them. So why are we buying them? Well, I don't, obviously, but that's what this YouTube channel is about, is buying the right equipment at the right price, using what you need to use, using very simple techniques, and coming back with images that other people love. One thing I can tell you about the 5D range is that it needs to take a big leap, because Sony have just brought out the A9 camera, and I think we've just saw a leap in technology that we've all been waiting for. So I think that you'll find that there's going to be a massive switch over to Sony now. They've even made it so Canon lenses is going to work great on the A9. So I would expect within 6 months now Canon have got to make, you know, they've got to do something. Full frame, mirrorless. Well, maybe they're doing something completely different. Maybe they're thinking go the same route as Fuji. Let's get a bigger sensor. Let's get a new range of cameras, lenses. We don't know. So something's going to happen. It's got to, because Sony, I predict, by the time the Olympics come, are going to absolutely nail the rest of them with this new camera. We'll take a look at the A9. If I can possibly get hold of one, I'll try and get one. If not, we'll just have a picture of it with the specification. Cameras are very much a case of working out what you actually need. Now, a sports photographer with the A9 from Sony, there will be no reason in the world why they will ever choose a 1DX Mark II, in my opinion. There'll be no reason at all. So wait and see what Canon do. Hope that helps. I know we're talking, meant to be going back to the questions, and I've had a bit of a rant. I know it's a long one, but see what you think. Okay, try them out, make your own decision. Don't just listen to me. Go around every other YouTube channel. But the 5D Mark I is well worth buying. Okay, hope that helps.